The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Shalom and welcome to the SINagoguge. This is a podcast for consenting adults for information, education, and entertainment on BDSM, sexuality, and all things related. If you're not a legal, enthusiastically consenting adult, then
pick up the needle, press pause, or turn the radio off.
For those who remain, now might be a good time to switch to your headphones.
Welcome to the SINagoguge. I am your host. They call me the Rabbi.
Pretty fly for a rabbi.
I put the sin in synagogue, and I am a cisgender, ambimorous, gynesexual, sadistic, bratty, daddy doll. Sex therapist by day, kink educator by night, and in both these roles I help people make their kink a religious experience. While I am a mental health professional, this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a replacement for therapy. Seek out the assistance of a trained professional for help with your specific situation. Hosting with me today is my partner, my ADHD squirrel wrangler, my submissive, my brat, my pony, or just my little pony, the Sunny to my Tubs, little bit. This is episode number 5, and with me today is Mistress Jen to talk about professional doming.
Yes, hello. Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Good. So Mistress Jen is a professional dominatrix with over 15 years experience, based in Houston, Texas, demo artist, performer, and available to travel to be part of different BDSM events. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today.
But before we jump into that, first, a word from our sponsor. So, tell us a little bit about being a pro-dom.
Okay. Well, it all got started about 15 years ago. I actually, before I was a professional dominatrix, I actually was in the newspaper industry, coincidentally, for 15 years until the internet kind of came in and took over everything. And so that kind of changed everything. But I used to run a lot of adult ads. I worked for a weekly paper owned by New Times at the time. There's like the Dallas Observer. There was the Houston Press, different ones. San Francisco Weekly, LA Weekly, just different entities of the papers. And so I would run a lot of the adult ads, and I actually met a lot of professional dominatrixes through that vehicle with working with the paper. And I ran a lot of ads for them, but I did not get into it at that point. This was like 1998, and I did that. I worked there for like 6 years. So then fast forward, about 15 years ago, I had made friends with a lot of the doms and stuff in the industry over the years, with running their ads and whatnot. And one of them I, was still friends with, and she asked me if I wanted to go with her to see one of her subs. And I was like, for what? I was like, what am I going to do? And she said, well, we're going to go spank him. And I was like, we're going to do what? Spank him? And she's like, yes. You've never done that before? I said, well, not really. Maybe I spanked my child like once in his life if he did something really, really awful, but no. And so I was like, well, I don't know about that. I don't know anything about that. I don't want to look like, a fool. I don't want to look silly.
Sure.
So I said, no, I think I'll just sit outside and wait for you. And she goes, no, he's a really nice guy. Come on, you can come on in and at least sit down and, just wait. I said, okay. So I met him. I went inside, and he asked me if I'd ever spanked anyone before. Same question, and I was like, really? I don't really know anything about this. And he said, well, you want to spank me? I was like, okay. I said, I guess so. I was like, and he actually put his donation down on the table, and I said, okay, I'll try this. And I tried it, and it was fun. It was very therapeutic because, I was raising a kid at the time. My son, who's now almost 27, he'll actually be 27 next Saturday. So yeah, and with raising a kid, it's very stressful. You go through a lot, especially because as they get older, they get very they like to challenge you and everything. And I was like, this is very therapeutic. This is very calming. I like this. This is fun. I like being in charge. So from then on, I started like doing, having a mentor and, getting training, going to DomCon, working at the dungeons, learning from the pros, the ones that had been around, the seasoned doms that had been around for like many, many, many years. And, the only way you're going to learn is with just getting out there and doing it. I mean, you can read a book, you can watch something online, but you only get so much knowledge from that. You have to actually do hands-on experience.
Sure.
And that's how I became who I am.
Awesome.
So why go pro? Why give up your amateur status?
Well, I didn't really, as I said, I was new at this. I did not know how, and when I first started out 15 years ago, how the dom sub dynamic really worked. Actually, when I worked at the newspaper, a group of us had been invited to an underground dungeon party. And back then, back in like 2000, 2001, they didn't have the internet to put flyers out and stuff like that. So everything was just like underground. I mean, you might have a paper flyer, but you don't have like the ones where you broadcast. You didn't have Twitter, you didn't have Instagram, you didn't have TikTok, you didn't have any of that. So everything was by paper, very, very basic. So I decided that because I didn't know anything about it, I was like, I wanted to learn. And I was never a lifestyle person. I never got into this for the lifestyle. But, I was seeing how successful my other dom friends were doing with their businesses. And I was like, oh, this could be kind of a side thing for me. I could make a little extra money doing something that I really enjoy.
Nice.
Gotcha. So why would somebody go to a pro dom as opposed to, amateur dom, finding somebody at a dungeon?
Well, because a professional dominatrix, they were supposed to have that experience, knowledge, and a person comes to me because, a lot of my guys, they want to give up that control. Because they're normally like in charge at their businesses, heads of household. They always make the decisions. And, they don't want to go see an amateur, I would say, because, even my guys, they want to see somebody who's been around a long time, has a website following, knows what she's doing, has had hopeful proper training, a website, that's established. They want somebody established that knows what they're doing. They don't want to go to some, person, either an amateur or a lifestyler or somebody, that really hasn't had the proper training. I wouldn't want to go to a doctor that doesn't have their training or go into medical school or, a dentist or anything like that. I want to go to somebody that knows what they're doing and have experience and following.
Sure. So you talk about like having a lot of training and everything like that. So how did you get your training?
I got my training. I went to, as I mentioned, there's a convention called DomCon. It's twice a year.
It's fabulous.
Once in May in Los Angeles, and then they have it in New Orleans, usually like in October.
Halloween weekend.
And they have classes.
We've taught.
Yeah, usually Halloween weekend. I know, I love it.
It's beautiful.
But yeah, we go and, you take the classes, you go to the play parties, and I've also worked at Sanctuary LAX under Mistress Jennifer. And she's amazing. Oh my gosh, that woman is amazing. She is about to turn 70 years old next week.
Oh,
and
my
they're having a
goodness.
party for her. But I can't go because I'm going to be in Baltimore, Maryland the weekend they're having the party. So I can't go. And I'm like, I'm so upset. I want to go. It's like, I think it's like the 12th or 13th, or I don't know, something like that of April. And I'll be in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm actually part of the Northeast Kink weekend. I'm actually going to be doing demos and performances and stuff like that out there. And then I'm taking my very first trip. I've never been there. And then I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. and go see what's going on with our nation's capital.
Fair. Completely fair.
Might have to shape up some of those guys in the Congress. Might have to give them a little discipline.
Good luck.
They've been very naughty. I'm kidding. Naughty. They've been really bad boys, made really bad decisions for our country. Bad. Anyway, that's another story.
Good luck.
People are going to a pro dom because they have the experience. How do you break into being a pro dom?
Okay. Well, definitely do your research. Like, if you're wanting to become a professional dominatrix, there are a lot of girls out there who think if they have a whip and a paddle, they're good. No. It has to come from within. You have to, like, it's an instinct. I've always been a very dominant person ever since I was a child. You know, I was the kid who wanted to run the playground, not just be there. Mm-hmm. And I was bossy. I'm an only child, you know. It just kind of was ingrained in my brain, and it was always there. I just never knew it was there. And then when I got into the pro dom business, but yeah, it just kind of came out. And you know, just do your research. And if you do choose a mentor, go with a dungeon, and it's a dom that's been around, as I mentioned, a very long time, knows what she's doing. You know, go to DomCon, go to the classes, you know, because I learned a lot of my skills. You know, I learned them a lot from, you know, being at the dungeon, but I also took the classes on the skills to make sure I was doing it the right way. Mm-hmm. You know, you just, as I said, not like, you know, what that show Bonding and, you know, what's 50 Shades of Grey and all this stuff on the internet. Don't follow that. It's garbage. Mm-hmm. You're doing yourself a disservice. So.
This is true.
So I can't help but be curious to the business side of it. I mean, how does the business side of it work? Like, are you paying taxes on this, or is this like freelance stuff, or how does that work?
No, I pay taxes. I pay taxes like everybody else. You know, and I also like I do online like telephone work as well. I'm on like Night Flirt, Sex Panther, I Want Phone, you know, all those, and they send me my tax forms every year, and I have to count all that. You know, of course. I mean, I have to be a good taxpayer like everybody else. Plus, I have a regular job. I actually work at a smoke shop, novelty store, adult store near where I live in the Montrose in Houston. I've worked at Fantasy for it's over 3 years now. So I have a regular job. I've always tried to keep a regular job because you never know what's going to happen with this world. You know, look at 4 years ago, we got shut down. You know, everybody was unemployed for a long time. Some still are. It was really devastating. So you always have to have a backup plan, because if something falls through with one thing, you know, hopefully you have that second thing to fall back on. But that was a really tough time, even for my business, because I couldn't see people for like over a year, and I lost a lot, you know, and with like Backpage getting shut down, Eros now got rid of their BDSM section so much.
Yeah.
It's challenging because of the advertising aspect of it. It's no longer as strong as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you navigate the legality of what you do? I mean, I know a lot of kink stuff is illegal based on where in the country you are. How do you navigate that?
Well, I let everybody know that I am not a, you know, escort. I don't offer any of those services. I never will. I'm very upfront about that. I let them know what I do offer. And you have to screen everybody that contacts you, screen them, you know, and I also use websites to, like, you know, check their phone numbers to see if they've been blacklisted or anything like that. But yeah, you always, you know, and also it has to be consensual, you know, 110%. You have to be on the same page. You have to have an understanding between the dom and sub, you know, mutual understanding, mutual consent. It's safe, sane, and consensual. That's what I say.
Fair.
So what kind of things are you looking at when you're vetting somebody? What does that process look like for you?
Okay. First, I find out how old they are, because I've had people contact me that were like, one guy said, you know, could I spank a 17-year-old? I said, no. Oof. Have him call me back in 10 years, like 27. Yeah, no, I have an age restriction. I don't usually see anybody 27 years and up because of their maturity level, how they're matured as people, you know, and they have to be upfront with me, answer, you know, my questions honestly. Don't be like hiding things. Don't be shady. Also, I find out if they have any kind of medical conditions. That's very important because you don't want to hurt somebody or, you know, put somebody in danger that might have a condition. So I always ask them, you know, do you have any kind of medical conditions that, you know, we need to work around, or things that we don't do? You know, you have to be safe with this thing. You just can't, you know, just go with it. I also like them to send me a picture of them. I have a phone conversation with them, and I get a deposit on their appointment from them, because if they're 100% really, you know, really ready and real and genuine, if they really want the session, they will pay the deposit, because that's, you know, my time and their time. They're both very valuable to both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So,
what's the weirdest, biggest red flag you've run across when vetting people?
They want me to send a picture like of my ID to them, which is very no, taboo, no. And I'm like, why? You know,
No.
Send me a picture of your ID. And you know, it's weird because, you know, I can understand. I do get subs that tell me that, you know, this such and such dom took his money and disappeared, or, you know, gave him the wrong address or whatever. And I'm just like, look, I'm not that dom. I'm going to be crystal clear with you. You know, you comply with what I request, I'll be there 100%. But yeah, I had a guy, you know, I've had him, you know, send me your picture, send me your ID. And I'm like, why? So you can hack me, scam me, you know, whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of scary too. No.
It is scary. So I basically will block and delete and report them and blacklist them to the site that I use. So people will know.
Gotcha. That sounds like a way to also keep other pro dominatrixes safe as well, when you have somebody who's being creepy and weird like that.
Right. And, you know, I can understand guys having animosity because they've gotten ripped off or whatnot, but not every dom is going to be like that. I'm not like that. They can research me. They can go, I send them my link tree so they can see all of the things I've been part of over these years. And as also we do like a video interview, whatever. If they want to jump on and meet me, that's fine. You know, I want them to make sure that they know that it's really me, that it is me.
So how does someone avoid the sketchier ones, avoid the ones who are going to rip them off? What do they need to do? What do they need to look for?
Okay, well, I even had a guy yesterday, he messaged me on Twitter and said he wanted to send me $400 a week. And I was like, okay. And he told me he wanted me to send my bank information or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that, dude. I said, what part of scam and hacker and a fool do you think I am? I was like, no, move on down the road. But like, if they send you stuff, you know, like want you to send, like I've had guys who want to like put me on their payroll and they want me to send my banking information so they can wire transfer money to me and whatnot. No, don't partake in that. And if you hear just, you know, certain things about like, they want you to do something in order to get money or to get whatever, you know, whatever, you know, that's very shady. That just run. And also check the phone numbers. Girls need to check. There's verifyhim.com is a very good website to put numbers in and to see if they've been blacklisted for any reason. Always screen your people and check the numbers. That's what I do.
Gotcha.
And then if I see that they've been blacklisted, I'm like, okay, well, what can you tell me about this? What can you tell me about that? And they're just like shocked that I actually confront them. No, normally they just disappear. Or they try to say, oh, that wasn't me. That wasn't my number then. I'm like, really? Your name isn't such and such? Really? When did you change your name? Nice try.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how about on the other end? As somebody purchasing the services of a pro dom, how do you avoid a scammer?
I mean, you mean they're trying to find me or me trying to find them?
Them trying to find you or one of your
Okay,
competitors.
Well, I tell them to, well, I'm not going to scam them. I don't do
Sure.
that, but I let them know up front that, even with the deposit, I make them pay the deposit if they're really serious, and I tell them it's non-refundable. It's like if you go to, like, you make a trip. Sometimes you have to put a deposit down, or concert tickets, you have to put a deposit down to save your spot. You just can't. I mean, I have a couple of old subs that I've seen for like 10 plus years that I know like so well, and they don't have to pay a deposit because I trust them. They've established themselves, and I know 9 times out of 10 they will be there when they say they're going to be there. But just, yeah, and the Dom, just be careful, when a sub is looking for a Dom, if she asks you to send money right away up front, run, make sure she's, researched, she has a website, strong following, all of that, and if she asks you, oh, well, pay me such and I'll give you this information, run, don't walk, run. Yeah, because, I tell them what I offer, what my hourly donation is. And then at the very end, I'm like, okay, well, to proceed, if you want to go ahead, we'll go ahead and, I'll get that, deposit from you. And I usually send it in writing so they have it in writing, so it's not like a verbal. I don't like to do anything verbal because you don't have anything to back it up. You have to have everything in writing, concrete, in writing. So that's what I do. And then they either pay the deposit or they're like, oh, I don't feel comfortable giving a deposit because such and such, I had this bad experience. And and I was like, well, you know what? That's fine. Bye. Have a nice day.
Sure.
What's the biggest challenge being in this line of work?
Well, I would say the advertising aspect of it these days because, it's difficult to find reputable places that will give me quality subs. I mean, I advertise on different sites, but sometimes, I get a lot of time wasters, a lot of, just nonsense that, they're really not interested. They just want to waste my time and jerk my chain. And, that's not what I'm about. So, it's challenging to do that. But I have a website. I have all my social media, I do my best to try to get get my name out there, and so, but it's more difficult to find places to advertise these days. And also, the girls who do scam the guys give all the good doms a very bad name. They make us look really bad, and it burns my blood. I just get so angry at these young girls who are just scamming these guys left and right for money. And it's like, I've worked 15 years to get where I'm at. I didn't just wake up and want to do this. I actually had to be kind of talked into it a little bit, but it was worth it.
Sounds like it. I was going to say, sounds like it's been equally frustrating and equally rewarding at the same time for you.
It is, but anything you do with work in any kind of job, you get that. You get frustrated, but it's a reward. If you enjoy your job and love what you do, then it is rewarding.
You talked about the girls scamming the guys out there. Is there such a thing as a male pro-dom? I feel like there should be, but I don't think I've ever heard of one.
Yes, there are. I've met a couple of them. I've worked with one actually here in Houston. And, he's pretty, he works with guys. He's actually, he's gay, which is totally fine with me. I love everyone, I've actually volunteered with the Pride Houston for 10 years. Got my son into volunteering as well. He volunteered for 7 years, up until like 2019 was our last year. But that's a whole different story. That organization just did a regroup, a rebrand, and they're coming back out, and I think it's going to be great. But yeah, they had a lot of issues, internal issues. But I've actually worked with one professional male dom, and he seems like he does pretty well. I mean, and he's been around for quite a while. And I used to do sessions with him, but, just the pandemic and just life and just, having to just, regroup my business, you know, it has taken a lot of time. And I just, you know, I had to focus on rebuilding a lot.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why are you passionate about this? Why does this do it for you?
Well, I guess it's because it's the control aspect of it. I like being in charge. I like, you know, just having that power, I guess. It just makes me smile, you know, because I've always been a dominant type of person, always, you know, because I've been divorced like 25 years from my ex-husband. And, you know, with my son, you know, I've always had to be the one to make mainly all the decisions. I mean, he's been very instrumental, and he was really good with helping raise our son and everything. And so, but still, you know, I'm the primary one that really had to be there on a day-to-day basis, making sure he did everything. And I think it's really, it helps a lot, and it's a learning experience as you raise a child. You know, you have to be in charge. You have to be dominant. You can't be passive. You can't be like, oh, whatever, you know, just let them run wild or whatnot. And, you know, I've been very fortunate. My son is a really good human. He's very respectful. He's a hard worker. He's very dominant, but he's not into this. But he's bossy. He's dominant. It's like looking in the freaking mirror. I'm like, what did I do? I'm like, uh-oh. But he comes to my events. It's really cool. Him and his friends will come to my events. It's a lot of fun. I like seeing them there. They don't stay a long time, but they come and they support me because they want me to be successful.
That's awesome.
You talked about your services. What are your services? Is there like a menu to choose from? Is it always an open negotiation? How does that part work?
Yes and yes. I do have a list of things that I offer. I offer like spanking. I offer bondage. I also offer like mummification, where I wrap them in saran wrap from their necks down to their ankles. CBT, tease and denial, enemas, electro, sounding, which is like the long rods that fit into the shaft of the penis. I also have like humiliation, cross-dressing, adult babies, what else? Wax play, and a little bit of medical play. I don't do, the things I don't do, you know, not an escort, none of that. I don't do fire play. I don't do needle play. That's about it.
That's an impressive list going on right there.
It's taken a long time to compile it, and I know normally I'll let them choose from the list of their interests. But I have some that try to top from the bottom and try to tell me, okay, they send me these long emails and they're like, this is what I want. And I'm like, I want $1 million, but am I going to get it? Probably not. But you can try. And so I was like, okay, let's start over again. Reapproach me, but don't say I want. Say, you know, this is what I would like, or may I please, or mistress please. You know, you have to ask for things. You don't demand things, because I'll just be like, nope, delete, bye, see ya. I don't take orders. I take requests.
Very fair.
Yeah.
So what's something surprising that you've learned about yourself with this career? That
I could actually inflict a fair amount of pain, like with like their discipline. I don't do it. I'm not abusing them. I'm disciplining them. A lot of people get confused with that. But I didn't realize that I could actually swing a paddle or, you know, a whip that swiftly and actually make them have a red bottom, like really red, like big time, like almost bleeding. I've had some of them bleed on me, and they love that. I mean, I have the guys, they're just like, hit me as hard as you want, or hit me as hard as you can. And I'm like, wait. No, we have to establish a safe word first. That's our safe word. We have to pick it out. And we have to have boundaries. And I start very gradual and go from there. I mean, I have guys that come up at my events and are like, okay, I want you to hit me as hard as you can. And I'm like, do you really? Okay. I was like, we'll get there. And I tell them that we'll get there, but we're not going to start there, because I don't want you to, number one, if you're new at this, I don't want you to run for the hills, hate this, be like, no, never, I'm never doing this ever again. I don't want anybody touching my butt. No, they'll just be scared. You'll scare them away from it. I don't want to scare people. I want them to like it or love it or appreciate it or want to do it again. So I start gradual, work the way up.
Definitely fair. Always a responsible thing to do, for sure.
It is, because I see so many DOMs out there, even with, like when I go to DomCon, I go to the play parties and I'll sit there and just observe. And some of these people, they just, it's abuse. It's really not discipline. These people are just beating these people. And it's like, did you really say okay to this? Did you sign up for this? I mean, if you guys have this kind of connection and have it established and it's all consensual, that's one thing. But if you don't, you're just abusing the person.
People watching at play party events, and such like that in the dungeon play space is always rather fascinating to see, what people have negotiated in their dynamic and such like that. And yeah, there's been times where I've questioned, but I don't interfere because that's not always my place. Though if I had an issue, then of course, you go to the dungeon monitor and be like, hey, but still it's always fascinating and curious at the same time of what did you negotiate? What did you think you were getting into?
Right.
What makes you different from other pro-doms?
Let's see. I am a fair dom. I can be evil if you push me the wrong or push my buttons the wrong way or the wrong, sequence. But I'm fair and I'm honest and I'm dependable. I'll be there if I say I'm going to be there. And I'm constant. I'm a consistent, presence in this industry and have been for 15 years. I've always been there, even through the pandemic, even when I was doing my online sessions and had to learn how to do that because I was primarily a person dom before the pandemic. I didn't really do any online at all, but I had to transition and learn. You adapt with change. So.
Of course. Like learning to be a dom online, I'm sure, especially since you have been used to being in person, had to have been a challenge in and of itself.
Mm-hmm. It is. I mean, but I still have my guys who want to do, like, even my in-person guys, when they travel, they'll want to do an online session. Mm-hmm. They'll want to be humiliated online. I can't really spank them online. I can make them spank themselves, though. And that's always fun. But, but yeah. Getting their wooden spoons out.
How out are you with your profession?
Everyone knows what I do. It's not a secret.
Okay.
In the beginning it was a secret because I had a regular job. I had a corporate job. I worked at a newspaper 15 years ago. So I couldn't say anything because, I had a professional career. And I had to keep my mouth shut. So I didn't say anything. And then when I decided to do the pro-dom thing full time, I still... I advertised, but I really didn't put myself out there until I did my very first event in 2014 in Austin. I did an event at a bar called Castro's, which is no longer open. It's awesome. It's a great place. A friend of mine was a bartender there, and he asked me to do an event. They were doing a charity event for the AIDS Foundation Austin. I said, sure. And he said, well, we want somebody to do a demo, and since you're a pro-dom, you can do the demo. And I was like, I can do what? Demo? What? In public? I have to spank people in public? Really? Ooh, that could be fun. So I did that, and they said the only way, we're going to start advertising it like on Facebook and all the other, platforms that were coming out. They were going to put my picture up there and everything. I was like, okay, that's fine. So everybody who didn't, I had a few people in my life that knew, but not many. But then it became everybody. People I went to high school with, people I went to elementary school with, people I worked with in previous jobs. And yeah, it was just like night and day. It's like one day they didn't know who I was. The next day everybody was like, what? You're what? I was like, yep. Hi.
So how badly did that shock everybody that didn't know when you came out?
A lot of people were surprised, yes. But then people who really knew my personality were not surprised. They were like, even the kids I went to school with, the adults now, they're just like, that's why you were so bossy. That's why you were so difficult. Huh. Makes sense now. But I would have never said it back then. You know, I was a good kid. I was a nice kid. I, went to school, actually college for music. I actually played violin all through school growing up, and went with my high school to play in Carnegie Hall when I was in 11th grade. I went to HSPVA, High School for the Performing and Visual Arts.
Nice.
Went to U of H for music. And then I walked away from that. I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go into advertising and marketing. And my father at the time, he was alive. He was like, what? You don't want to do music? You don't want to be a music teacher? I'm like, no.
Meh.
No. So then I just totally changed everything. But yeah, people who really knew me or know me, it makes sense. But then people who knew of me, like in school and stuff, were like, oh, huh, okay. Well, some of my family members aren't thrilled about it, but I don't care. It's my life. I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever have somebody from like high school trying to purchase your services?
Yes, one person actually. I went to school with. I'm not, it's
confidentiality.
It's interesting because he contacted me after like 20 some odd years, and he found me. Actually, we were friends on Facebook, actually, and he messaged me and he, asked me about setting up a session, and I was like, he was just a friend. Just somebody that I knew in school, but I just didn't really. I was like, kind of leery about it, but I was like, okay, definitely this is anonymous. Nobody's ever going to know that you came and saw me. Of course, this is all confidential, and it was a little strange, but I was like, you got to get into the headspace. You got to put that aside. But like, I would never see any of my son's friends. I would never see, anybody that I was really close friends with. I mean, if they want to come out to the events and get spanked, that's one thing. They can volunteer. And I've actually spanked coworkers and people, their friends at the events. But that's a big event. That's not a private setting.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's something people would be surprised to know about you?
Oh my. Let's see. What? Oh my gosh, that's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that kind of question before. I don't know. Let's see. What surprised about me? Gosh, that's a good one.
Yay.
Well, I like RuPaul's Drag Race, but that's not really surprising. People know I like RuPaul's Drag Race. I love that show. It's like my favorite show. I like to read books. I don't know if people know that, but I like to read books. I like to eat sushi. I love sushi. People probably know that about me, though, that really know me. I like to sleep kind of late, but not too late. I used to sleep later when I was younger. I don't know. Maybe not a lot of people know that I used to play violin as a kid. I don't know how many people would know that, but I did. I was a music student.
Fair. When you see like pro-doms depicted in the media, I always think of like Mistress Heather on CSI. What is your biggest pet peeve about that? What do you see that's always depicted wrong?
It's always like most of it's acted and staged, it's like Hollywood, and like with some of these movies, specials, documentaries, whatever, they actually need to go into the dom's like dungeon and see it firsthand, be in there, because you can use a Hollywood prop or whatever, and make it look good, but going into like a real dungeon and seeing having a real dom there, like with bonding, like in the second season, that girl actually went to a real dungeon and got training from a real pro dom because she had to, because that girl had no idea what she was doing. So yeah, she had to actually go and get proper training. So I think that even Hollywood should consult regular, real pro-doms and real dungeons. So they actually know what they're doing and how to approach it. That's just my opinion.
So how do they approach it that's wrong?
I don't think that they actually do. I mean, maybe they just use like actresses, or they use just stage props, or I mean, but the ones that they really go and see, you know, they need to do research on the dungeon itself and the dom herself, and make sure that, you know, they're both genuine, established, well-known, you know, have good reviews, all of that. You know, that's just what I think.
Makes sense.
Well, let me rephrase that. If you could do a scene with any celebrity, which celebrity would it be and why? Or have you already done one with somebody famous?
Nobody really famous. I mean, I have actually punished, disciplined a mayor of a small town in Texas. I'm not, you know, he was pretty well known in his little city, but, you know, he and I were the only ones who knew what you know, he came to see me for spanking.
Sure.
We were the only ones who knew that. Sure. But if I had a celebrity, let me think. I would say I like Dylan McDermott. He's great. I love him. The FBI Most Wanted, and also an American Horror Story. Also Johnny Depp would be fun. Finn Wittrock, also from American Horror Story. He's awesome too. I would love to spank him as well.
Nice. So, what's your favorite toy in your toy bag?
I would say, out of implements, I love my paddle, like my traditional wooden paddle, you know, like school board type paddle. I love those because it's very traditional. It's very old school. It's very, you know, authentic. And then I also have a machine that you can attach a dildo to as well. I love that as well. Yeah, it's kind of like a strap machine. Well, it is, but I can't say the word that it really is because I probably would be censored. So
I'm pretty sure we're in the adult content section of every podcast or thing right now. Anyway.
Yep.
You know, you never know. I don't know. You know, I don't know what the criteria is. Some podcasts you can say whatever you want, and some will be like bleep.
Like we've had some colorful language on our podcast before, so I'm pretty sure you'll be fine.
It's called a fuck machine.
Hey, perfect.
It's called a fuck machine. That's what it is. You just attach a dildo to it and let it do its thing. It's amazing. It's better than a strap-on. It's much better. But I just didn't know what your rules were. I didn't know if I'd get bleeped, dropped,
nope,
deleted, banned.
Nah.
You know.
Nope, you're good.
Thank you.
What is the best advice you've ever received as far as it goes for pro-doming?
Oh, I love this one. You know, I've had a couple of seasoned pro-doms that have come up to me in my early, you know, being a pro-dom. They were like, they didn't take me seriously. They said I was wasting my time, and that I was not real, and that I, you know, just should move on, or, you know, I'm too nice. And I'm like, really? Bitch? Really? Seriously. Okay. Well, and, you know, that one, she just has her head so far up her ass she can't see the light of day. But that's just, you know, that's just that person. And then I had a person who said I was inviting myself to events. No, bitch, it's called marketing. You put yourself out there, you market yourself. That's how you get gigs. That's how I've become, you know, the only one in Houston that does demos. No other pro dom that I know does demos for any events here in Houston. I'm the only one, and have been for 10 years. So, and that's not by inviting myself. It's called marketing, because I have a marketing background.
Of course.
Yeah.
What's been your biggest failure as a pro dom, and what did you learn from it?
Biggest failure. I guess with the pandemic, I felt kind of like, I just felt lost. I felt, just depressed and just, away from people. And I was contemplating, even when we came back and started doing events again, I was like, do I really want to get out there and do that? And I was like, well, I thought, I had to tell my people no during the beginning of the pandemic that I couldn't see them in person. And I was like, oh God, I feel terrible. I kind of felt like a failure at that, because I was like, but it's beyond my control. It was the world. It was, the way that things were going. I couldn't control it, but I still felt bad about it because I couldn't fulfill my sessions. I couldn't see my people, and I felt really bad. And then when we reopened and started doing events again, I had a phobia of crowds because I was so used to being at home all the time, not seeing people. I had a phobia of crowds, and I was like, it was just like mentally disturbing. I didn't want to be in a crowd of people. I still really don't love it. I tolerate it because I know I have to, and I want, and I have a lot of people who expect me to be there and depend on me. So, but still, I felt like, it was depressing. I was just like, this is just, maybe it's time to move on and do something else. But I was like, no, I've been doing this so long. I don't want to just give up and quit.
What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew at the beginning of your journey?
That this advertising, all these websites were going to be shut down, because hopefully I would have a plan. I mean, they weren't even, they were around back 15 years ago. A lot of them were. I kind of wish I could see into the future and be like, okay, well, we need to make a plan to keep Eros on, keep their BDSM site up, retool the back page so it wasn't trash and run by a bunch of sex trafficking people. I wish it was just more like professional and more, put together, more organized better, and just thought through better. I just wish a lot of the advertising was thought through and had some foolproof ways to advertise that would, continue on throughout.
Sure. All right. So one of my favorite questions. What's your favorite curse word?
Oh, gosh. Probably bitch. Bitch is a good one. Especially I watch a lot of RuPaul, so they say, bitch, please. They say a lot of that on the show. And, I've been watching that since, season 5. They're on season 15 or 16 now. They've been doing this forever. And, I just got RuPaul's book, actually. I'm going to start reading it when I'm on my trip, on my work trip. I'm going to read the book that, The House of Hidden Meetings. I'm actually going to read that. And, I got my son into watching it when he was younger. So he and I, it's a standing thing every Friday night when it's on. We watch every week, and we always critique, and we always, try to guess who's going home, and we're pretty accurate about it. It's it's fun. It's fun to do.
Good.
So Lil Bit asked her favorite question to ask. My favorite question to ask. If you had to have sex with one Muppet, which Muppet would it be and why?
Kermit the Frog, because Miss Piggy doesn't deserve him.
Good answer.
It's the truth. Not Elmo. Elmo's too whiny. I don't like him. He's too whiny. He sounds like he's whining all the time.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
Is there any question that we haven't asked that you wish we would have?
Well, I guess about my how to get in contact with me.
Well, that was going to be my next question. So, how does somebody get a hold of you?
Okay. See, I guess I'm reading your mind a little bit. I don't know, maybe not. Okay, but no, I've got all the forms of social media. I have Linktree, that's under Mistress Jennifer. I have Twitter, GothChick16. I'm on TikTok, Mistress Jennifer 5. I have an OnlyFans, GothChick16. Or Google me, Mistress Jennifer Houston, Texas. You'll find me. I'm out there. Or you can email me, gothchick40@gmail.com. GOTHCHIC40@gmail.com. So, yeah, I'm there.
And I will drop those links into the show notes.
And I can email them to you, too, if you want me to.
Okay. Absolutely. Okay. But with that, I think we'll wrap up for the day. Thanks for coming on the show. You've been a great guest. Enjoyed learning about being a pro-dom. For our listeners, upcoming SINagogue classes, both in person and virtual, on electroplay, knife play, dollar store domination, all coming up in the next month or so. Check our website for dates, locations, how to attend. But that is it. That's our show. Say goodnight, little bit.
Good night, little bit.
Follow us on Facebook, FetLife, Twitter, Tumblr, and YouTube as SINagogue BDSM, and on Instagram and TikTok as SINagogue Kink. If you enjoyed or learned something from this podcast, consider making a donation via PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Patreon, or Ko-fi. Username SINagogue, or find those links to all of those on our website, SINagogueBDSM.com. Remember, that's SINagogue with an I. Also on the website, links to past episodes, upcoming classes, book us as educators, shop our store, and more.
SINagogue hosts and guests are subject matter experts but are not the expert. We believe that, outside of violating consent, there is no wrong way to do kink, except to think your way is the only way. This show is presented from a RAC, risk-aware consensual kink point of view, and not SSC, safe, sane, consensual, because every individual's definition of safe is different based on their own risk profile. The use of the word safe on this show fits our definition of safe, and that does not have to be your definition. Opinions expressed by guests on the show are those of the person expressing the opinion, not of the show.
Just a reminder, we try to make our content as inclusive as possible, regardless of gender, orientation, role in the lifestyle, etc. But we do inherently speak from our own point of view. For the most part, substitute our identity with your own to make it work. We want to know when we make a mistake, so we can learn and grow from those mistakes. So if you feel like we did say something that is genuinely offensive, we encourage you to let us know. Reach out to us with your questions, comments, or concerns via our website or call us at 469-269-0403.
Brought to you today by the letters and the number.
San Diego High School Football Room!